You're on the Six Screens Telenetwork, earning the reputation of giving all the right ingredients, uninhibited, and exposing the hard, cold facts about the Watchtower Society. And now, the end is near. Every morning, the light keeps getting brighter as I wake up to the truth. And every day, I'm feeling so much lighter, and the world seems fresh and new. What I was taught and the way that I thought stopped serving me long ago. Now I'm learning to trust in the God of all of us. Each day I start anew, and so I'm walking away.
Well, we've all walked away, right? We really did, from a false religion. Well, we got Angela and Dan Clark. They're coming on here tonight. Hello, guys. You're on with us?
Hey, Rick. How you doing?
Well, doing real good. Yep.
I can tell you the light's getting brighter for us. You know, I don't know about Watchtower. It just seems like the same old blown out light bulb, you know, in there. But for us, the light's getting brighter and it's getting scarier for them, you know.
Yeah. In fact, you guys, you're talking through the phone, I guess. We didn't really need the phone. You got your phone on, do you?
Oh, no.
Let's see. We got everything muted, I think. Are we echoing, Rick?
Okay. Well, no, you're not echoing. I don't hear you echoing. I don't hear you even saying anything. But you're coming through my phone system. Usually, I hear you through the speakers. But that's okay. We'll go with that. Yep.
Do we sound good, Rick?
Yeah, you're good. Yep.
Okay, good. All right. Are we ready to roll?
Yep.
Okay. Hey, we want to welcome everybody tonight to Heart on the Six Screens with Dan and Angela.
That's right, guys.
And we just want to thank you for joining in. We want to thank all the people in the suite that are on there on the telephone line and also on YouTube. And we want to say it's great to have you here tonight. And we look forward to you commenting and making comments and joining the conversation.
Dan, hold on 1 second, Dan. We are echoing. We are echoing here on YouTube. We can't really have the phone on. You got to shut the phone off. You'll hear the phone through your system, but you have to shut your phone off.
No, if we do that, we can't hear.
No, you'll hear.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, your guests will come through this telephone system, and you'll hear them. You gave them the number to the conference call?
Okay, let me unmute us off this then. Hold on. We'll do that.
Phone. Okay, we're turning off the phone. How's that? Can you hear us?
Yes, that's better. That's better.
Can you hear us now, Rick?
Yes, we can. Yep. Can you hear me? Well, what happened is we can't. I think we got off to a bad start here. I'm not sure. Okay, let me just stop.
And muted us again.
Yeah, it's echoing like crazy. We can't be on that telephone. So get the telephone off. Let's just try to work through this and get it. You just talk through your. Did you get the telephone on, Dan?
Is that one?
Okay. All right. Oh, we're gonna have to abort this. We're not gonna go YouTube, I don't think. Yeah. All right. All right, we're gonna. I'm sorry, folks. Those on YouTube, just bear with us here for a second. We're just trying to get this thing ironed out. It is an issue here from time to time with bringing the people on. Okay.
Hey, Rick, are you there?
Yeah, Dan, you're on the telephone. You can't be on the phone.
Yeah, I know. We shut off the phone, Rick, and we went through the computer, and then we really echoed. This is the way we did it last week. We just went through the phone and then we mute the computer.
Did you? All right. All right. Listen, if you're listening on YouTube and you're hearing an echo, go ahead and count to 5, you guys.
1, 2,
3, 4, 5.
Okay, well, we're not, are we echoing, folks? Please, someone come forth and tell us. If not, we'll go on with the program. I'm just waiting for someone to say if we're echoing or not.
Maybe I talk too loud, Rick. Maybe I'm shouting into the phone or
For me,
something.
put audio on the 5.
Okay, go ahead. You set the goal. I guess we're ready to go. Go ahead.
Okay. Well,
All right. Well, we're going to just read a little intro for Christy. And we got a special guest tonight, Christy Love, and got an unbelievable story to share with us. So we're really glad to have her on. Angela, could you introduce her
I
for
would
us?
love to, Dan. So Christy is an ex-JW, having been out now for about 12 years. She's the mother of 3 grown children. Her ex-husband was from Bethel, as you'll find out soon. I thought it interesting that one of her children at age 10 knew that the witness ideology was not the truth, and partly due to this, Christy did not raise her children so that they were pushed to go to the Kingdom Hall meetings. A cousin woke her up by saying these words, "After all, Christy, they're all just men." She is now remarried, and she and her husband have found a Christian church that they both really enjoy. She has a brother who is in and out, another spiritual friend that Christy had greatly admired through the years, who had left the witnesses, said a few things that also made a huge impact on Christy and helped her awaken to the truth. And that was when the friend said that it about killed him when he realized that he had been brainwashed by the witnesses. She spends as much time as she can working to expose the watchtower. I think you'll really enjoy her tonight, as she has a truly dynamic and delightful personality. Christy lives with her husband in Callahan, Florida. Welcome, Christy. Are you there? Don't
Hey there.
Hi,
How's everybody
Christy.
doing?
Good. How are you
Real
doing?
good.
I'm doing great, and y'all sound great. Y'all don't echo anymore.
Oh, good.
Oh, good. It might have been my voice echoing. I yell into this phone sometimes,
Don't doubt it.
I don't know.
No.
Anyway,
Who knows?
Rick knows how to fix it all up, though.
Yeah, he
So-
always does it.
Anyway, Christy, we're so glad you came on with us tonight. You know, it takes a lot of courage to come on here. We interview a lot of people, and we get stood up sometimes, and other times it comes through. But it takes a lot of courage to come on here and share your story. But it's so important to share your story. It's a catharsis to yourself, and it also heals and validates those listening. And there's a lot of people listening tonight. A lot of people wrote me, and we're looking forward to hearing this. More pedophiles, being hid in the congregation. It's a joke. It's a joke, all in the name of, keeping Jehovah's name, not bringing reproach on Jehovah. But anyway, Christy, if you would just kind of take us back, to where did it all begin? I guess you grew up in this thing.
Yeah, I was raised in, the truth, and so I was never offered anything else, and absolutely 100,000% believed in it, and I believe that it was the only truth. And when you're indoctrinated from the time you're a baby, it's one of those things. It's almost impossible to escape. But later on, I'll go through that. But later on, there were certain things, certain teachings that did cause me to doubt a little bit, and caused my natural curious mind to. So, kind of listen to other things. But, by nature, I've always been a researcher, and I've always enjoyed that aspect of, researching scriptures and things like that. And there were certain teachings that I questioned all along, but I just went along with the flow, being told that the light would get brighter, we heard somebody saying earlier, the light would get brighter here with you there. And so I pretty much just, kept going out door to door, and here I'm teaching these people all these things, but secretly I did have doubts. And, of course, we're taught not to hang around worldly, so-called worldly people. And so, and the research that we do, we're supposed to only research things from the jw.org. Back then, only the literature. And, but anyway, just to dig in a little deeper about what happened whenever I was growing up, I was in and out. My parents both ultimately were disfellowship. When I was 12 years old, my mother, after being disfellowship, she tried to commit suicide. And I was 12, and she went to the hospital, and she ended up taking a blood transfusion, and she lived. But to this day, she completely lost her mind. She's in a home. She's been in a nursing home or some kind of living facility for many years. And so that definitely had an impact on me because I more or less had to raise her. And then, of course, I just always felt this urge, the spiritual need, and, you're taught to go back, and it's never too late to go back to Jehovah. Well, there's been a few times I've tried to go back, and at one time I really did. I went back for maybe 3 months before I met with the elders and turned in a letter and tried to get reinstated. But I'll back up just a little bit. At the point whenever I got baptized, right before I got baptized, I was at a quick deal with the Kingdom Hall that they were selling off left and right these days. Where I live, there's one that's a liquor store, another one is a church. Of course, these buildings are supposed to be sacred to Jehovah, and they're constructing free labor. So I really was curious about what they were doing with the money. Now I find out about the media centers, which is very weird. And, I just felt like if I kept quiet, I would share in their blood guilt. I have to come forward and say something. So the guy that I met at Quickville, his brother, he had came from Bethel. He was from another country, but he came from Bethel ultimately. He left Bethel and went back home and then ended up coming to the United States. So we dated for a while. I thought I had absolutely hit lottery with him. He was from Bethel. He was very spiritual. He was, very attractive, very kind. And then right after I married him, oh my goodness, did I realize what I'd gotten myself into? It was, it was only a few days after we'd been married. He was choking me, literally choking me. I was very sleepy. I was very tired, and I don't want to be too graphic, but I went to bed and told him I'm exhausted. I have to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning. At that time, I was working a job that required me to get up early hours in the morning, and he was just very insistent that he wanted to have sex. And I was telling him, no, I'm sorry, but I've got to go to bed. It was 11 o'clock. I've got to get up in the morning. And he choked me. And he was very violent. He was violent. He ended up being violent with my children. He was a very bad alcoholic. I tried my best to call the elders. I called them. They would meet with him. But it's just such a men-only organization. I mean, they do let the women have a small part. Don't get me wrong. They want to bring you in and indoctrinate you too. But for the most part, it's a man-run organization. And so all my attempts to go to them for any kind of help toward somebody that was abusing me just were in vain. It was always me being seen as the rebellious wife. He didn't like anybody that I hung around. He forbid me to hang around my brother because my brother built me up and made me feel more spiritual. He was a pioneer. And so anyway, I was hanging around these two sisters, and both of them were named Diane. It was Diane and Diane. Well, one of the Dianes I was particularly fond of, I'm not going to give her last name, but she was similar to me. She had a husband. She had just got married. She was single for a long period of time, like 40 years, and decided to get remarried because she met the presiding overseer. He was an elder, and he professed to be the anointed, okay? And now as former Jehovah's Witnesses, we know what that entails. He's one drinking the, wine and eating the bread every year, and professing to be one of those that's born to heaven as 144,000. So I was privy to a lot of what was going on between the elders because of her. And I have to say she was a very good person. I haven't talked to her in many years since being his fellowship, but she just was so spiritual, and I just loved her so much, and it just broke my heart. And then she ended up telling me, we were sitting down, and she actually was calling on the phone. She was calling the new presiding overseer, and she had previously told me that this brother that was anointed that she was married to that I grew up admiring him, thinking the world of him. My mom met with him several times, and he was very lenient with her, so she was particularly fond of him. And anyway, she told me that the night that they got married, he ended up confessing to her that the reason why he couldn't perform was because he had this thing that was on his mind, or what have you. But anyway, ultimately, he confessed to these elders, and I know this by her, and listened to her talk to this elder. He confessed to molesting multiple children. I know it even included the children that lived next door to him, and the parents were never notified. Police were never notified. Nobody was ever notified. This was to be kept top secret because it would be bring reproach on Jehovah.
Was this a presiding overseer, you said?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, my God.
The presiding overseer. Now, they did denote him as elder, and they took his privileges away by carrying the microphone. You know, that's such a big deal with them. But that's all. That's all. And then it wasn't too much after that I ended up getting disfellowship. But anyway, I'm going to tell you about one phone call that I overheard. You know, she had him on speakerphone. She calls the new presiding overseer, and she says, "Hey, I just want to ask, you know, what is going on?" At that point, this brother, he was never disfellowship, okay? Just his privilege was taken away. He had moved to a different congregation about an hour and a half away. And he got his privileges back whenever he moved. So she was very upset about it. Well, she would also witness the fact, while she was still in the same congregation, that little children were you know, drawing him and would be in his lap, and other witness families they would leave their children with him. He would even babysit. All of this going on, and these elders knew that he had molested kids. They knew for a fact that he had. He confessed it out of his own mouth. And it was just crazy. So she, of course, felt like she needed to warn them to keep their kids away.
Yeah.
Try to keep the kids safe. Yeah, so they told her, and I witnessed this. I heard them tell her, you need to stop going around telling people in the congregation. If you don't stop, we're going to fellowship you.
Ooh.
She did lose her privileges as a pioneer.
Oh my gosh, that kind of makes, if she would stop, that would make her an accomplice. Do you know what I'm saying? Before the court of law.
Right.
So she couldn't not tell. Man, that's crazy.
Yeah, and I even heard the brother say, well, look, we called the Watchtower organization, we spoke to the legal department in Georgia, because it's the state of Georgia. Our area is not required to report to the police, and in those places where we're not required to, we don't.
Wow.
That's creepy.
Yeah. I mean, especially the fact that, they even threatened her with, they did remove her privileges as being a pioneer, which she still would spend just as many of the 90 required hours that, again, are not in the Bible at all. But she would spend the hours out in the field service, but she just wasn't called a pioneer.
Boy.
That's how unsafe it is in a Kingdom Hall if you got kids. See, me and Angela were doing some work in a small church, and we were going to do some work with some kids, and they did background checks, they did classes, and they were like, never go to the bathroom with the kids alone, never go into any room with them alone. Go ahead.
It was called Safeguarding God's Children. You had to go through this program on a weekend so that you would learn how, what the rules are and what to look out for and all of that.
And which made it safe. And if there was a background, if there was something there, which, you'd never know in the Kingdom Hall, because all you have to do is come in and raise your hand and go out door to door, and you're an elder, There's not much more to it. But that's how unsafe it is in there. And like you said, we used to meet in people's homes. And I think you even said you met in your bedroom. Oh my God.
Man.
Yeah, we would have Bible studies. I remember that. We'd have Bible studies in people's homes, which, that led me to this one particular brother. For many years, we've had Bible study at his home, And him and his wife, they were just super spiritual, okay? I just couldn't pick them doing anything wrong. And they were just very, very good people. Well, he just kind of disappeared from the scene. And then later on, I got disfellowship. And I'll just briefly go over that, what happened whenever I got disfellowship. You know, I don't hold any resentment. And here's my thing. I just feel like if I don't speak out, then I'm joining with them, and I'll have blood on my hands. You know,
Yeah.
I have to come forward with this. I was very nervous at first. I was wondering if it was the right thing to do for a long time, but I was like, you know, I just really need to go public with this, because if it helped one person, I know how alone they made me feel. I know how I felt whenever I got this fellowship. Here, this brother who had molested kids, one sister turned him in too, because she worked at the local Comcast, the cable company, and they're not supposed to tell about anybody's bill, but of course the Watchtower, whatever, you know, they had her so indoctrinated. She, you know, felt like she needed to tell the elders and obey them. So she told them, hey, you know, this brother, the same one that was the presiding overseer of the elder, was pedophile. She told them that he had a major problem with pornography because he had a really extremely high, I want to say like $500 a month bill because he watched all the porno movies. It was heartbreaking because I grew up respecting him. There's so much of it that I feel, you know, it makes me feel inside, not bitter, but just very disappointed. Very disappointed. And so anyway, back to the brother that fell away. He was an elder, and he was just like so super spiritual. And he happened to run into my brother, and I was really praying. I'm just a truth seeker, you know. My eyes are open, and I can see, especially with their changing, their teachings and their new light and all this stuff. It's like, oh my God. It's just unbelievable that anybody could still just stick with it after knowing, you know, all these things. But anyway, this brother told my brother, my blood brother, that when he found out it was not the truth, he was absolutely devastated. It had just absolutely destroyed his life. It wrecked his life. Because you believe in this stuff, you believe it with your whole heart. And you find out that they're doing all these crazy things, and it's very disillusioning. It's very disappointing, and you feel like, a lot of people feel like there's nowhere to go, and that's why I just can't be mad at atheists, because here these people are teaching all these false doctrines, and then when people finally wake up, they're just so done altogether with religion, they end up leaving God altogether and not believing. But I had happened to be praying. I was like, God, please show me. Please tell me something. You know, I want to know if I'm doing the right thing. I recently started going to this church here that's close in Jacksonville, Florida, that I really enjoyed. And I'd witnessed just like these amazing things that happen and miracles and stuff like that. And I question whether it was, you know, because the Watchtower teaches us that even the devil has the power.
Yeah.
Hang on one second, I'm sorry.
We're still here, everybody. Don't worry.
Okay, I'm back. I'm sorry.
All right, no problem.
That must have been my alarm. So anyway, my brother worked at a grocery store, and his former elder, he happened to run into him, and he told him about that. And I was like, yeah, his brother says that's got a lot of weight to it. It really does. And then, of course, I see all these kingdom halls going up for sale. One of them is now a liquor store. And I think back to how hard I worked at a quick bill. You know, these buildings were supposed to be dedicated to Jehovah, and the land was donated. I know that for a fact. I've heard about other so-and-so donating the land. And here they built these kingdom halls with this free labor, and then they turn around and they now are riding the COVID thing all the way to the hills and just taking the kingdom halls away and selling them off left to right. And I just can't imagine why not more people are questioning that. So
I know
occasionally I will peek, I'll peek in from time to time. But I think with me being gone as long as I have, which has been 12 years, not really that long because I was in much longer than that, unbaptized. But when you go back, or when you even peek in, it is unrecognizable. Those same doctrines that I used to fight so hard to disprove, like the rapture, we'll get into that one.
Yeah.
I worked so hard to disprove that and convince myself. And I would go to the door and, I would study with people and tell them how the rapture was, whatever. I mean, I really can't even remember all of the explanation, but much of it was supposed to be symbolic, and it just didn't really make any sense. And now, of course, they have new life. And Samuel heard and played a song. Yeah, now
we're going to have to send you back, Christy, to be educated again, to relearn these things.
Right?
We see you've forgotten. You haven't been reminded.
Okay.
I'm going to have Brother Les or Lowe's or whoever they are. I don't even know their names.
No, brother.
Yeah, I think the funny thing is my husband, I've even taken him with me a couple of times to meetings. And this was whenever I still thought, oh, I got to go back. Oh, my God, the end's going to come and I'm out. I was just so scared. And I'll tell him, he said, if you don't recognize this crap is absolutely phony, and this is such a cult, everybody act fake when they give their comments, when they raise their hand, and that precious man that has the privileges of carrying the microphone whenever they comment, they sound so rehearsed and so phony and so fake. And then, of course, I'm trying to take my husband, trying to get him to come into it, and then Stephen Lett's going to come on the video monitor. I'm like, oh my God, who is this guy? I didn't know who he was. All I knew is he looked insane.
So I was hearing a little bit of echo. I'm not able to see comments on the screen, so hopefully somebody's watching. But
hopefully we're
okay.
Probably are.
Okay, good. So I was just going to ask Christy. You were just saying about when those two met in the what they ran into each other at the grocery store. What was it that they what was discussed in that store where they met each other? I didn't really catch that.
Oh, okay. So my brother talked to this brother Bill that had previously been an elder for so many years that we had the Bible study at his house, and he told him, he said, when he figured out and found out that it was just phony and it was just fake and it was just a completely made up, man-made religion, it devastated him because he had put his whole life into it.
Yeah, and then
all
that
the hours that he spent as an elder.
Yeah, and that was the friend that it influenced you because of him saying that, he was devastated and he felt, because he'd been brainwashed by the witnesses. That was the same guy, right? That really,
right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Whatever happened to that pedophile now? Did they keep him in, or did he relocate? What did they do with him, and what happened to the sister?
He is in a congregation in Baxley, Georgia.
Oh, no.
And as far as I know, I haven't asked him. I haven't asked about him in a long time, but as far as I know, he's still around and in perfectly good standing.
Oh boy! Oh boy!
Oh my God!
Boy.
Are you guys hearing this? I mean, can you guys believe this?
Almighty.
That they and that sister, they threatened to disfellowship her, didn't they? If she opened her mouth for talking about this guy? Oh my God!
They were mean to her. They were mean. I mean, I heard them. They were like, "Look, you've got to stop going around running your mouth, being a gossiper and going around running your mouth." And she was like, "Look, these people need to be warned. These children
Absolutely
are plopping in his lap. They're being left with him, and they have no idea. Nobody knows what's going on. I mean, even the parents weren't told."
Gosh, I'll tell you, you'd have to leave your husband in that case. You just would, in a right conscience. Christy, as far as
Yes,
your
she did leave him.
oh, good. That your husband's spending cable bills $300 to $400. Did we talk about that?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I'll tell you what. It's interesting because the talk today that Rick had earlier was all about pornography. I mean, I'm just curious. You being a wife of somebody who is that addicted to porn, how did that make you feel exactly? I mean, did it make you feel like just because
You weren't enough?
Yeah. Did you feel like you weren't enough, or what was the feeling that you had?
Yeah, it was all of that. And not to mention, he had taken Bethel. So I thought he was supposed to be this highly spiritual, very well, educated in the truth brother. And I thought I was just so lucky to have him. And then only to find out very shortly after marrying him, that, he too was just nothing but a pervert. He was just a closet perv. I would get these bills. That's why me and his sister, we got along so well. We shared our story. And
did it make you?
For whatever reason, they go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I said, for whatever reason, they feel the need to protect these people.
Yeah.
It's weird, Christy.
Yeah.
It's like, you were either into porn in there or you were getting the hell knocked out of you. Yeah, I got the hell knocked out of me by my dad. Everybody was screwed up. Now that I'm out, I'm serious. There was a lot of sexual stuff in there. There was a ton of it. And, I hadn't mentioned a lot of it on the 6 screens. I'd mentioned some recently, but there was a lot of stuff going on, and most of it was sexual. And I'm going to tell you why that it's in there, because nobody talks about it. It's black and white. Do not touch your thing. Do not, if you do that, you're bad.
Don't touch the girls. Don't touch their hand.
It's like, go ahead.
It creates it, Anyway, I know we've talked about that.
I'm not saying
before.
It creates pedophiles, but I'm just saying it creates sexual addiction because you go into hiding. How many times can you go to an elder and tell him you fell back before he starts taking your privileges, And none of them will admit that they've done it or thought about done it or are doing it.
Well, just logically speaking, if you think about, how the witnesses were all about, I've heard you guys talk about it countless times, how the guys are not supposed to touch the girl's hand and they can't be alone on a date and they can't. Hello, if you can't touch anything, don't you suppose maybe the guys are going to go to porn? I'm just saying, logically speaking, don't touch is going to make people want to go do something else.
Therefore, your body member.
Yeah.
Everything they take to the extreme. But my biggest thing is these same ones that are preaching this, they act like they've never done anything wrong.
Right.
And I'm sure they get their rocks off sitting here and all these confessions.
Seriously.
When I was being disfellowshipped, one of the brothers from the congregation that I was in, he declined from being part of my judicial committee. And so they called in this brother from the same congregation that I'm talking about where this pervert moved to, the pedophile moved to. They called him in, Brother Allen. I remember him. And I had been separated from my husband for about 3 or 4 months. And I was going to divorce him. I was done. I was breaking free from him. I didn't really care what they said at that point. And so during my judicial committee, they didn't let him. They pretty much made him come and sit in my judicial committee where they want me to confess my sin. And I really didn't have all that much to tell. The fact of the matter was, there was a few times, I drank along with him. I drank along with him and developed the problem before. When you're an alcoholic, you don't know it. And here it was my husband. I never had a drinking problem until I started hanging out with him.
Oh, wow.
And so I'm sitting here in this judicial committee, and they're making him sit right there and listen to everything. And I, at one point, objected because I told him about the time when there was these golfers that were like semi-famous, and I was hanging out with them. And anyway, make a long story short, one of them, his father, tried to rub my breast, and I pushed him away and I left. But I told him about it because, of course, it bothered my conscience. Somebody touched me inappropriately, and I felt like I should say something. And they doubled down on me like it was my fault, and I cheated on my husband, blah blah blah.
Oh, jeez.
And here me and him have been separated for. And I told him, I was like, look, he is not my head of household. We are separated, and in the process of getting a divorce. And this brother stood up. I would never believe I had always been told that you don't get this fellowship unless you pretty much ask for it. If you're repentant, then you don't get this fellowship. And I was very, very repentant. They had been in my house a few times, and they were trying to get me to come to the committee, and I wouldn't answer the door. and I guess they kind of knew I was there. You know, they would look through the window or whatever, and they could see that I scurried off to the bedroom. Well, whenever I did meet with them, I told them, like, look, you know, I went out with my sister-in-law, went to the club with her a few times, and I did drink too much. And, you know, I told them, you know, a couple of things about that, and I was crying. I was begging at that point. I still totally duped, and I was begging them not to fellowship me, and they just fellowship me anyway.
Boy.
And I became suicidal. I mean, I tried to commit suicide after that, not long after that. And they, you know, they really didn't care. They could tell I was losing my grip with reality. I was bad, and now I know. I was just losing my grip with reality. I was calling them all hours of the morning and begging them to reinstate me, and just, you know, I completely lost it. I was so broken down. I had just lost my best friend. She was a sister. I just lost her to breast cancer. They were just so unmerciful.
You know, I just wondered, Christy.
Another elder.
Did you feel like you kind of had a gut feeling like you knew that God wouldn't have been mad at you? I mean, did you think about that at all? That, you know, God wouldn't have? Yeah.
I did, and I think that's why I never went back long enough to get reinstated. I even kind of got scared. The one time that I really made a go at it and thought I was going to get reinstated, I really, in my gut, I was like, "Oh, I hope they say no." To myself, I was thinking that.
Yeah,
but
that's
it is very scary. It is just so dangerous because they indoctrinate you so much, and they make you feel so much guilt. You never do enough. When you go to the Kingdom Hall, they're always telling you you're not spending enough hours on field service, and you know, and then all the teachings. If you have any question at all, and you try to raise any question, they call you, label you apostate, which, you know, they think is worse than Satan himself.
It's crazy, you know. It's just exerting control.
Scary.
It's just total exerting of control. You know, I mean, even the way your husband, who is, you know, what pretty much was in Bethel. How long was your first husband in Bethel? Do you remember?
Well, I want to say like 7 years.
7 years?
Yeah.
Did he talk about what went on there? Because boy, he's obviously, he must have seen a lot to come out of there.
Yeah, you know, he told me that they had a big problem with people being homosexual, with brothers being homosexual at the branch. He was from Uruguay, the headquarters there. That's where he was.
Gotcha.
And they had a big problem with catching brothers, the cleaning people who would go around and clean the rooms or whatever. They would walk in and catch people in homosexual acts. But, you know, you put all these brothers under one roof. You aren't allowed to touch a girl.
Right.
You got to have a babysitter, basically, when you go out.
You know, it's weird, Christy.
Crazy.
I visited a monastery one time, and I was going to stay in one of the hermitages, and it was like a single room, you know, with just no TV, no nothing, just a little cook station. And when the monk took me in there, he says, "Yeah, this is brother so-and-so. You know, he was a homosexual." I go, "Oh, okay. Is there another room?" And, you know, we kind of went down the hallway, and he goes, "And yeah, this is brother Saint so-and-so, and he was a homosexual. And then I realized that
each of the hermitages or each of the rooms had a picture of one of the saints.
Yeah,
one of the saints, like
monks.
Saint Benedict, or one of the saints. And each one of them, he said, were homosexuals.
And I was like, oh my God, you know, and I was like, but then I realized that then, of course, having a broader perspective, you realize that would be something that would happen in a monastery, because it's all men 24/7 around the clock, you know. And I mean, they're in there with sexual desires, and they're told not to marry. And you know, what do you do with it all, right?
Yeah, and you know, I'm not. Well, we're certainly not saying that God doesn't
promoting
have,
it. You know,
no, genuine eunuchs, if you know what I mean. That genuinely were born not to need that, and that would be really great. I don't know, you call them true monks or eunuchs, but there's plenty that go. We realize, because we went quite a little bit to this one particular monastery in Snowmass, Colorado, and they just obviously, to me and Dan, seemed to be running away from themselves, if you know what I mean. They wanted to be good, probably, and maybe they thought that would get them away from the temptation of the world, but it just ended up backfiring is what it
Yeah.
appeared to be to us.
And I'm not even running down the gays. I'm just saying, I just realized once I was there, I was like, wow, this is like rampant here. And it made sense. So anyway,
Yeah.
just an interesting observation, when I was going to the rooms when they were giving me the tour. And the guy, for whatever reason, wanted me to know that. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, sure did. But 7 years at Bethel, man, I'll tell you what. And then that same husband comes out demanding, sex and obviously then alcoholic. Don't you think they probably drank a lot at Bethel too? He was already. Otherwise, they couldn't do those acts anyway, right? So I don't know.
Right, yeah. And he just painted me as this rebellious wife, and his weapon he would always use it was always so humiliating and embarrassing. He would always call the elders and just every time we had a disagreement, every time we had an argument, which was a lot. And of course, all these nosy witnesses that are there are waiting until after the meeting's over to see who goes in the back room with the elders. And then they're wondering, and then they start gossiping, wondering what's going
sure.
on, whatever.
Jeez.
And it was just very humiliating, very embarrassing.
Yeah.
But he happened at that congregation. Most of the congregation was comprised because they want all these new members, okay? So they'll tell you on one hand that you're supposed to obey the authorities and you're supposed to obey the law, but they don't do it, and there's always a way around it. So the congregation I was going to, now, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of lovely people. I love them very much. There's a lot of lovely people there, but it was not absent of the people who love to gossip and carry on, and I felt like a Jezebel every time I went anyway.
Well, yeah, and like you said, your husband never got in trouble for the things that he did and whatnot. That's kind of odd,
right?
Yeah,
so we were in a congregation where most of the members were undocumented people who were here illegally from either Mexico or Uruguay, mostly from Uruguay. There was a lot of them an influx that had came, and so he was just one of the few because I got him papers and got him here, legal status. He was one of the few that they would give privileges to carry the microphone. So I think that's why they were just extra lenient on him.
Yeah.
And they would tell me, your husband is not perfect. He is not perfect, but he is your head. I don't care if he asks you to cook him fried chicken every day. That's his wife. He's supposed to obey him and do what he says.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So anyway, that's pretty much I would say enough about it.
Yeah, I was curious. You didn't really talk.
I would love to go into why I don't believe in porn.
Yeah.
Yeah, and real quick,
Everybody needs to hear this. Okay?
before you do,
Okay. You are told that the United Nations, NATO, that's from Satan the devil. You're not supposed to have any part. You're not supposed to be part of the military. You're not supposed to, all this. But yet, from 1991 to, I forget how long it was, but I know it was a period of 9 years. They were a non-governmental organization member of NATO. So how can you justify that? They say it was just so that they could peek into their library. I don't buy that, okay? But then they're selling out these kingdom halls left and right. They don't care who they sell them to. Like I said, there's one that's a liquor store now. I've been to one. I wanted to go back to the meetings and ended up going, and it's another church altogether. And there's just so much wrong. Witnesses don't know, or they turn a blind eye to that whole deal with 1925 Beth Serene, the House of Princes. Well, I recently watched and looked it up through Google Earth, the address, and it was a beautiful mansion that Abraham, Moses, all of them from the Bible, the kings of old or princes of old, they were supposed to come back and occupy that house. But it just so happened that Joseph Rutherford was going to occupy it as a caretaker for a little while until they came back. And of course, that never happened. And how many times do they have to tell us that if the world's going to end? Now they're telling us, okay, we know that's been many times, at least 20. And more recently, I think we're safe to say that we're okay because a year and a half ago they said it was going to end. It definitely was going to end within a year. I said like a year and 3 months or 4 months, something like that. I think we're in the clear.
What date was that? What date around?
So much. Yeah, and then so in 1925, with a big mansion that Abraham, Moses, and all of them are going to come back to, there happened to be a beautiful yellow Cadillac, and it sat there. And of course, Joseph Rutherford was the one that drove it around, keep it running, I guess. And witnesses are guarded from that. They're told, don't listen to nobody. You know, if somebody says anything against Jehovah's Witness organization, they're apostate. They're labeled as worse than Satan. You don't want to associate with them. You know, when you're in fellowship, even when you do go back, it's so weird because you're shy and nobody will speak to you, and it's just so mind controlling and so heartbreaking when you find out that it's just, I don't know. I digress. But, you know, one of the things, they teach you to be logical. Okay? So here's the thing. If you want to look at it from a logical standpoint, if there's something as bizarre, you want to tell me that 8 men in New York, they're the ones at the head. They're at the helm of this earthly organization. They're God's oracle, his only channel for the truth. And yet they get all these dates wrong. And then not only that, the founder, Charles K. Buffalo, if you do just a little digging on him, you find out he was a pagan. He was a Freemason, and there's a lot of beliefs that are very similar. It's just crazy how similar they are.
Yeah.
And they have this the huge pyramid erected in his memorial that was near his grave. They've since removed because it's a public embarrassment to them.
Yes.
And then the latest that everybody's found out about, I don't know if y'all heard about it, but they own stock. How are you going to disfellowship people for drinking too much or smoking cigarettes when you own stock and Philip Morris? Come on now.
And what?
Philip Morris.
Philip Morris.
Own stock in Coors Light, and even own stock in Cinemax, which is, we now all know how soft porn.
Ah.
And paying $4,000 a day in court funds. They're paying $4,000 a day because they harbor a list of pedophiles, 23,000 names that they're protecting. I'm sure that brother, the one so-called brother that I knew growing up, that was a pedophile. I'm sure that's one of them.
So you're saying they're paying $4,000 a day because they don't want to release that list of 23,000 known pedophiles, so the court makes them pay $4,000 a day. Oh, and just think.
Contempt of court. There's multiple. It adds up to around $4,000 a day, but there's multiple cases where they have demanded you have. Is it 23,000 in the United States or worldwide? I believe it's worldwide, but you know, it's still. The fact of the matter is, you're taught to comply with the law, and here you have these judges telling you, and I work as a paralegal, so I know about the legal stuff and the ramifications of not turning over evidence. And here they're not turning over evidence. They'd rather keep it a secret and hide it and protect these pedophiles and let them keep on enabling them to do whatever they do, and then say that, oh no, we don't teach. No, of course you don't teach people to be pedophiles. You're not going to come out and just say, I want you to go around molesting children, but you don't protect them either. You fail to act.
You know, Christy.
They can say all they want. They can say all they want about well, everybody knows that they can go to the police. That's not true. That's not true. The elders will tell you, please don't go to the authorities.
You know, Christy, don't you think it's kind of fascinating that a judge wouldn't say, not only are you in contempt of court, but because of your continuously not turning over these documents, we have to safeguard the children and you are now under arrest. But no, they don't. These judges, knowing that there's a big 23,000 list of pedophiles and they won't turn them over. It's like they're accomplices in my way of looking at it because they won't do anything about it. Anyway.
Right. Yeah. Sooner or later, they will. They'll end up being jailed. And I think Australia, they're about to take their tax exempt status away from them. I know they're waiting on they have $19 million. That's a payment from, I think it's donations. Don't quote me on that, but there's $19 million held in escrow. Australia will not give over to the governing body in New York because of that. And because of their contempt and all that, and they're threatening to take away all they ask for in Australia is a public apology. Even the Catholic religion gave their public apology.
That's
So
crazy.
that's something they won't do. They'll say there's new life or they're doing this now. It's just, if you look in and see what they're teaching now, it's unrecognizable as what you grew up on.
That's the truth. It's like they were hijacked, It just seems like, maybe somebody saw there was just a shitload of money flowing through there with their buildings, Brooklyn, New York, It's like they've been taken over. They sold it out. But this is not the Watchtower. I agree with you, Christy. This is not the Watchtower I grew up in. There was a lot of I's dotted and T's crossed. It was kind of a fun place. There was a lot of organization. I kind of loved it when I was in there for a long time. And I didn't know it was so evil. I didn't go through a lot of the abuse you went through. But I got into drinking in there. I got into heavy drinking as a witness.
We're hearing some background noise there. Somebody's not sure what's going on.
Somebody got their phone and not muted?
There's beeping. And,
Like a microwave or something.
yeah, something like that. Yeah. Okay. Well,
Yeah, sorry, that was me. I was going to make a comment, but
Go ahead.
then I didn't.
okay, go ahead.
I was going to say that, it's not just different these days, but it's also like hypocritically different.
Yeah.
It's like things that I got in trouble for when I was a kid and had to speak to four elders about. They do quite openly now and things like that. But it's not just that it's different. It's different in every way that they said it would never be different.
Yes.
And that's what I wanted to say about that.
Are you?
100%. That's 100% correct right there. You've got a very good point. It's very hypocritically different. And I think additionally, what I would add, using their own logic against them, if this was going to be the true organization God was going to handpick, it seems reasonable to me that Jesus would have said, hey, okay, in later periods of time, people are going to fall away, but then there's going to be this organization, and it's going to be kind of unbelievable because there's going to be so much corruption in it, but there's going to be 8 men in New York City that sit around the table, or New York, Warwick, wherever they're at, that sit around the table and come up with doctrines, and you get what I'm saying? I feel like Jesus would have implicated it in some kind of way.
Right.
But if you look at the comparison, when you compare it to Catholic, it's just a perfect comparison to Catholic religion because they have the Pope and Jehovah's Witnesses have the governing body.
Right.
I don't want to give the witnesses any ideas, but they should move the number from 8 to 12 and say they're the 12. I mean, it's going to come out in a Watchtower watch. Oh, man. Because they're into all that. Go ahead.
I'm just trying to get Dan.
No, I'm talking right here.
Okay. Say that again.
Go ahead.
I like what you're talking about. You make complete sense. You're right in the zone. You're not, you're critically thinking. You're logical and reasonable. Don't let any of those crazy witnesses tell you you're goofy or don't think straight.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I literally have 2 more classes before I get my associate's degree.
Yay.
I finally went back to college.
All right.
That's not, of course, that's not allowed. You're not allowed higher education. So I'm 47 and just now getting my associate's degree. So.
Yay.
Wow. That's really great.
Yeah.
It
all
is.
these do's and don'ts. And it's like I've heard over and over, but it just makes so much sense the way it was put to me. They take prophecy and then they turn it into policy. So, you take the scripture where it says they will go to war no more, and then you make it where you're not allowed to enlist in the military. You're not allowed to vote. You're not allowed to do this or that. But yet they don't follow the same rules. For some reason, they're exempt.
Sounds like our government. you know?
And yet, when you think about it, they very much run their organization like a boot camp. If you look at the rules, the regulations, the control that they do, you know, I was thinking about this the other day. We always think of witnesses leaving the organization and dealing with post-traumatic stress. Well, look at how many are still in the organization and dealing with post-traumatic stress. Because when you shut down your psyche, when you go against yourself over and over and you follow that programming, you're going to collapse eventually. You're going to, you know, you could be like a zombie forever, but eventually it's going to catch up to you. And people are going to start to have, they're going to be on antidepressants. They're going to be on, and all that's doing is masking the issue. It's not getting to the issue because they're not taught to think for themselves. So they think, well, it's because we're at the end of the system of things is why we're all so tired. It's why we're all so stressed out. It's because Satan is bombarding us every day, not knowing and realizing it's on a subconscious level. You're being bombarded from your own organization. You're being destroyed from the inside out. You don't have a fighting chance unless you wake up. And that's something that all of us should be grateful every single day, regardless with the wounds, the scars we come out with is we're out. We have a fighting chance not only to save ourselves and to heal ourselves, but after we heal ourselves, then we can truly be a blessing to others and help them and their adventure or their journey and exiting the Watchtower. And that's the opportunity we have. And thank you, sister, for coming on and sharing your story, because that's what we need is to inspire others that you can leave this organization. You can have a life. You can go back to school. You can reclaim your identity and take back your power. So good for you, sister. Proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Daniel.
Yeah, you are so right. Yeah, you're on point. It's just sad, you know, whenever you look back. But I'm going to say this now. I never thought I would be able to say this. I am so glad they just fellowship me. Oh my goodness.
All right.
I would have never listened. I would have never paid anybody any attention. You know, I would have stayed probably in that mind-grasping, mind-bending, mind-screwing, crazy organization if it hadn't been for that. So I thank God for that.
Yes, that's really
You know, I
good.
feel like he really had a hand in it.
Also, sometimes when some of us leave, we don't fully leave the teachings. And when I came back to do my care and saw what they were really teaching again, I was finally able to leave the teachings.
That's good.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I ask a lot of people sometimes, you know, what do you do with the teachings? What do you do with the name Jehovah? What do you do? You know, all that programming we have. What do you do? Just tuck it down and tuck it away, or how do you dismantle it? How did you dismantle it? You know?
Yeah. I just think, you know, it's like that one brother. I think a lot of people are familiar with it if they watch YouTube. Or into that, I know I am. but this one brother that was once an elder and gave talk, they somehow accidentally invited him to come and give a talk, not knowing that he was a, you know, so-called, I hate the word talk tape, I really do. I wish I had a better word, but anyway, he was one of them. One of us. And he goes and he gives this talk and he eloquently lays it out, and he's comical, people are laughing, they're really into it. And to me, it's just that simple. It's go back to the basics. You know, all you really need and all that's required of you is that you love, you show love, and that you go, you know, you worship through Jesus. To me, it's just not that hard. They make it complicated, but it's just like the Bible says. And they make the word of God known and all the traditions that they hand down.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know,
it really helped the first time I voted.
Yep.
I bet.
Because there's a kind of ritual element to voting. I had to register to vote, then I had to walk somewhere, then I had to say my name, then I had to put the thing there with the pencil and vote. And when I voted at a very late age, I realized I'm free, I have an opinion, and this is my name, and this is something I will continue to do every year. It was very freeing in a way that people who have been voting all their life would never understand, but in a way that a member of the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society would understand if they'd left. Right. Absolutely. I agree with you. I could talk to friends and even my husband, but like, they don't really get it. They don't understand what it's like. And I felt the same way. I was so happy to be able to vote. And now I vote. Hey, Dan.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dan, this is Jeff.
Hi, Jeff.
Yeah, I just want to chime in.
Yeah.
When I prayed or I think, just thank Almighty God or pray Almighty God. That's all you got to do.
That's right. It's simple.
Yeah.
And that covers it all, me. So,
Yeah, that's good. That's good, Jeff.
That's right, Jeff. We don't have to be,
absolutely.
we don't have to have some governing body talking to us like we're 10 years old. And you know what's pissing me off about them? I thought that they would back down. I thought finally when we came out and said these guys were like you the words you use, Christy, oracles. I call them channelers and mediums because they're the medium, right? They're the mediator. They give you your spirit food at the right time. And so they're mediums, but what's happening to them is bad men. The Bible says bad men will advance from bad to worst. And these guys are getting worse because I've seen them say this on jw.org. They said, now think about this. Think about this kind of dictator, this kind of strong arm, this kind of manipulation to have the balls to say something like this to your followers, to say, you better listen to us like your life depends on it, because it does. Can you imagine the narcissism at what level these guys are at narcissist?
Unbelievable, man.
Yeah, these guys are this is now psychopath. This is not narcissist anymore. This is sociopath. I mean, a man that goes out to 8 million people and says, now imagine me saying that. Now, guys, listen to me, because your life depends on. I mean, you'd slam it down. I mean, these are sociopaths. They're amoral. They don't know how to say they're sorry. And the people under them.
The guy says, listen to our direction, even if it doesn't make sense to you.
That's right.
That's a cult. Oh, that's what I mean. Guys are getting sicker.
What she just said.
Yeah.
Say that again.
Yeah. Go ahead, Daniel.
Go ahead.
What that sister just said, if you simply take that, listen to us, even if it doesn't make sense. Okay, even if you're not a Christian, if you just look at simply what Jesus said in the Bible, what did he say? You're now a free people. Be careful you don't allow your yokes to become enslaved again.
That's right.
So if you simply look at that, where was Jesus saying follow without question? If that was true, the Bereans wouldn't be considered honorable people.
Amen.
That's exactly what they were doing. So if you look at that, just simply shows you the Watchtower is going against principle of what Jesus taught. They're going against everything that he stood for, what he taught, what he shared, even with his own disciples.
Yeah.
How disgusting, if you look at it, is the brainwashing. One other quick point I wanted to bring out. I'm 49. When I was a teenager, they started coming out with these really simple pamphlets and tracts. I mean, they were the pamphlets, I don't remember, they seemed like they were 15 pages or something like that. And my dad told me it was for the people that couldn't read, and they made it so simple to be able to go out and place these pamphlets so even a person that couldn't read that well could understand. And I thought to myself, because my dad would say, well, what a beautiful direction that was from Jehovah. But something didn't ring as truth with me in that. I thought, well, that's cool, but we're handing these out to everybody, you know, not just going into certain communities or maybe prisons or maybe where, I don't know, people struggle with education or something. And over the years, it dawned on me. It was, how dumb can they dumb us down? They're going to imprison us with something so simple. It's 15 pages. It's going to dumb you and shut you off, where you're just a walking baptism pamphlet that's written for like second grade.
Man.
Yep.
You know,
I've never taken those brochures to school and given them to the teachers because, you know, they set you up from the time, especially when you grow up in it, you don't have a chance. You don't know anything, you know. You're brought up in it. You have to go and explain to these teachers why you're not saluting the flag, why you're not doing this, why you're not getting involved with Christmas, making the ornaments and the little activities that they have that for the different holidays and stuff. They set you up to be an outcast from the time you're little.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I thought the word. Go ahead.
Publishing company. It's a former now with the internet. It's a former publishing company, and their main goal is to get into people's pockets, inherited houses, you know, life savings, what have you, bank accounts. When people die, then this is what they're about. It's about money. Follow the money. That's all I got to say. And they're using religion as a shield to get money from people.
Yes, they are.
This is what it's all been about for many years.
I
agree with that. Follow the money, please. That's all you got to do.
And it's becoming more obvious.
When I started going to meetings, we met in the top of a store. You know, that's the way they started out, meeting in people's houses, meeting in a barn.
Wow.
And, you know, the society has eventually, over the years, you know, these people, they would go build a kingdom hall. And it wasn't a quick build. It was just, you know, brothers and sisters from the surrounding areas go build a kingdom hall. And now the society owns all that stuff.
Yeah, they do.
You're right about that.
Well, you know, here's what freaks me out is that, you know, they're
The Bereans were trying to find out, really they wanted to know what does the Bible really teach. And it was people that were using the Bible as a study guide. They were using Strong's Concordance. They were thinking. They were questioning.
yes.
It has come so far in the last 100 years. If those people were in a time machine, they would not recognize anything about how cultic it is now.
Well, yeah, and
Good
and,
point.
and, we,
I think maybe when we started out, they might have been, Russell might have been serious about what he was talking about, you know, no hell, rapture, and, you know, really getting into Bible doctrine. They were, and Russell, 2 hours on stage, I'm not saying he was a great man. He had a 15-year-old sitting on his knee, but the man did have theatrical skills. He could do 2 hours on stage with no notes. So he had a following, and they were trying to overturn some of the doctrinal things of the big churches.
well,
And now just another big church. They're part of Christendom now.
He was a good talker.
Christendom and Jehovah's Witnesses. But I think I would have loved to have gone to law school. They send their people to the best law school in the world, and they're telling us we can't even have basic college.
oh boy.
Absolutely. I bet they wish they had a lot more lawyers now.
Yeah.
Do you know what?
Well said.
Do you know what Watchtower's like?
Doctors.
Watchtower's like going to school.
In the community with having lawyers and doctors and nurses, paramedics, I don't know about police, but
All I can say is follow the money, folks.
Amen.
That's all you got to do.
Doesn't Watchtower seem like you're in the 10th grade and you never graduate? I mean, when I listen to the governing body, it's like, this is stuff. I mean,
you never emotionally or mentally develop properly. Like
No.
the rest of the children.
Yes.
You're right.
I got sent to a Jehovah's Witness school. Remember, in the early 70s, they started trying to make Jehovah's Witnesses schools. Guys, those guys were the worst ones in anyone I had to hang around with.
You know, guys, when I was leaving the so-called truth, one of the reasons I left is I think I told you before, I went up to this really wealthy lady's house. And I thought the world was going to end before I graduated. I graduated in 1977, and I graduated with a D minus because I didn't care about school. I didn't even think I was going to drive. But what was funny was I went up to this mansion in this gated community, right? And my car is spraying oil all over the place. I said, don't put it in the tan driveway. Put it out on the road. Let's squirt in the road. I had 4 types of things leaking out of there. I had oil leaking. I had transmission fluid, and I'm going up and telling these people about paradise. I mean, I'm in this mansion. The door swings open. There's all these kids, and I'm in this ragged suit with a big black stain around my neck. I'm like, you want to hear about paradise? We're going to be in paradise any day now. And they're looking out at my piece of shit car, station wagon full of people. No air conditioning. 10 years in Houston and no air conditioning. And they're like, are you guys nuts? Are those people sitting in the car? Yeah. They're just waiting for me to get done, tell me how wonderful life. I mean, I had a car dragging, the muffler's dragging. I'm in a polyester suit that didn't breathe. I bought it at the, what do they call those stores? Thrift stores. And I'm like, I have some good news for you. Oh my God. I was a psychopath like the rest of them, like my leaders.
There's a lot of reasons like that people don't like coming up to their honor on the property. There's some good news looking in your car and your cheap suit.
And I got some good news.
Just like you.
Yeah, your life's going to be over any day.
It used to be like school or work. You didn't quit. You didn't take the day off because you were sick. I remember I was going up to the door one time with my auntie, and the people say, well, why are you coughing? What's wrong with you? And she had some sort of coughing disease. I don't know what it was or remember what it was right now. But where she coughed all the time. And they were offended that some woman is coming up to their house coughing, trying to tell them about the end of the world and how to live forever. They said, get out of here.
Oh. Poor thing.
I remember when they would come to my house, this is after, did fellowship. I'm living in a house, and here they come knocking on the door. I'm wondering who's at the door. Who is it? It's Joe. And I say 2 words. I'm just fellowship. Okay.
Yeah.
And
My friend always used to ask me, how'd you get rid of them so fast? I just told them I was just fellowship. That's they'd run out to the sidewalk and they'd write it on their slip, don't call back here. Right. Yeah. I like what Dan said. And I was never that by being disfellowship. If those people don't want to talk to me anymore, fine with me. Leave me alone. I don't have anything to talk to you about anyway.
That's how I felt about it. Exactly.
That's right. That's right.
Rather than a letter to disassociate, I'm ready to send them a thank you card.
That's a great thought.
Go out and make some new friends. All the worldly people are all bad.
That's right.
People out there.
That's right.
Just put out a good vibe and be happy and And don't talk about that stuff.
Yes.
You lose all your friends. People I used to work with would buy for coffee or tea. I used to work with some of the finest people. And we've got the Lions Club here. They're all doctors and dentists. I'm going to probably volunteer with them. So there are decent, honest, good people in the world that have a moral code. They may not be religious, but they're not going to take the silverware. Keep me from the time I was a little kid. Is these people seem good? Why is Joe going to kill them?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, hey, the government body, what they say now is that when Jesus comes back, all of them are, you know, like the rapture teaching, they're all going to go up to heaven. They're immediately going to come back and kill us all. That's their new teaching.
Oh my God. When are they ever going to stop talking about killing people?
You see the one where Genghis Khan is converted, and they got these pagans from ancient times converting in paradise, and then they said, oh, well, some people are written in the book of life in pencil.
Are you serious?
Did you see that?
I was scared of that pencil, wasn't you guys? I was.
I'm taking that one apart. His name is XJW Curious, and he his name is Pete. This recent one, he shows you that one where they have that. And that's the line they use. Oh, well, their name's written in the book of life in pencil.
Oh God.
Can I ask you guys a question? How many of you guys have ever been threatened by the pencil? I have. I've had the elders say that we're gonna race you out. I mean, you know.
Ah.
Have you been threatened by the pencil, anybody?
Well, I have a permanent record that I don't like. I wish it would have been written in pencil. Well, I didn't have mine written in pencil, but I was told that my name would not be written in the book of life.
Oh my gosh.
Can I do? Hey Jeff. Hey Jeff.
That's one of the things they don't tell you when you get baptized. Is you still haven't made it all.
Hey Jeff. Jeff, I'm writing.
Give you a little bit of comfort. Tony Morris stays so drunk. If you watch him, half the time he's drunk whenever he's giving these crazy bullshit talks. You know, spending $1,000 in a liquor store at 11 o'clock on a Sunday morning. You know, what are you going to do up there? You're anointed. Come on. You want to sit up there and get drunk? I don't think they have a liquor section in heaven. So you might not want to go. You might want to rethink that. I don't think it was for just him. I think it was for all the governing body.
Yeah. But I want to tell Jeff.
Yeah, who's paying for all that liquor? That's my question.
Hey Jeff.
Oh,
Hey Jeff.
His wife liked it.
Hey Jeff.
He bought it for his wife.
Hey Jeff.
Yeah. Well, see, I think, you know, I had a lawyer telling me one time, he said, this is a real distinguished lawyer. He told me one time, he says, blame everything on your wife. And that's when I was and then I see this video of him saying my wife really liked it, you know. And, as far as Jameson, I couldn't believe it. I mean, that really hit a chord with me. I've watched it over 25 times. I'm first there to I have too. Him buying all that liquor, you know, it's not like he went out the front door and looked around and, you know, turned his back, went there, looked at everybody and said, hey, I'm making a run to the liquor store. Anybody want anything? We know. Yeah, man. He loaded it in a Cadillac. Yeah, and it was a Sunday, too. Yeah. Sunday morning. Yes, ma'am.
Hey Jeff, if you will allow me.
Alcohol and drug problems came from. The minute I got out of that and marriage problems and the drinking and the smoking and all that stuff, and you don't want to go to the meetings every couple times a week and hear about adultery and stealing, and I didn't care about all that stuff anymore when I quit going to the meetings. And it wasn't on my mind. I didn't drink very much or take any drugs, and all the stress and panic and was all gone when I left those people alone. And I didn't cry over it when
Isn't that something?
said they don't want to talk to me anymore. Our family life improved when we stopped going. The times that we didn't go, we were happier as a family. And we all
I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
There's definitely spirits in there.
When you didn't go to meetings or you missed them. Yeah. Or studies.
Hey, Jeff.
Also.
Hey, Jeff.
I
I just wrote Jeff's name.
Really do see the wall like they used to. I don't see it coming back. I don't either. I'm with you.
I want Jeff to know. I just wrote his name in the book of life. I'm playing the governing body tonight, only different. So, Jeff, I just put your name back in the book of life, okay?
Yeah. It's in purple. It's in purple.
You're in the book, Jeff. Don't worry.
Joining this organization right now and riding around a little four-door car with a couple teenagers, being pioneers, putting watchtowers in the lake, in the laundromat, and drop them off. Because everybody has like 50 magazines they need to get rid of.
You're right.
Yeah, I do like four-door everywhere. That stayed with me along with public speaking and knowing how to dress. I do like a four-door and car.
Yes.
Do you guys have any statistics or anything about how many who in their right mind right now would join the organization just growing up normally? I think in a literate term, like you mentioned, someone that is AW.org, and I want to be a Jehovah's Witness. I think it's an immigrant here. I think it's important.
With the internet now, there's just no way. Kids are so indoctrinated with the internet. I'm in my late 50s. There's just no way. They're not going to join a cult like that when they got the internet there and there has to be something wrong with them. I'm sorry to say that, but
you're right. No, you're right. I don't know. It's where their membership is going down, but the thing is now how this you're not required to report how many hours you go out in field service anymore.
Wow.
1 hour to be a pioneer now?
No.
Yeah, they're writing letters. The pioneers are writing letters. Didn't they say Armageddon was here when the preaching work stopped? That's what they said.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the government turned against them? That's what they said. Well, they didn't say it was going to be for being child molesters and a pandemic is going to stop it.
That's right.
We got pestilence, that's the horseman of the apocalypse, and the next one is food shortages. But that doesn't mean it's the end of the world. It doesn't mean Jehovah's not going to save any of us. He's sure not going to, even if we have food shortages. Cavalry ain't coming. I got myself a big gun, and I named it Jehovah. Good one.
Well, that's
Well, guys, we better check on the time, guys.
We have more trouble than we ever had as witnesses.
I know you're right about that. We better check on the time and see if we got time, if we're not going over or not. I think we're getting close.
Yeah, we are 9:05. But
Is it 9:05 already?
yeah, it is, Dan. But I did have a question in here,
Go
you
ahead.
guys. So you know what? One thing that I noticed in your notes, Christy, that I wanted to ask you about. It's kind of going back a little bit, but
Thank everybody for their comments.
yeah,
Thank you.
thank
That
you
was
guys.
fun. That was a lot of fun.
That was a lot of fun. But you know, your mom was bipolar, right? And kind of she was the manic state. And I noticed that you said in here that she had been sleeping around, and which is textbook bipolar. That's like textbook what they act like in a manic state.
When I say bipolar,
yeah.
She in her manic state, I mean, she was completely out of her mind. But I would take her to the hospital because, like I said earlier, I was like the mother. growing up, and I would take her to the hospital when she would be in her manic state. And it was so extreme. Her bipolar, I mean, it was just the most extreme case I've ever seen in my life. But whenever you take her to the hospital, she's trying to attack the doctors, trying to have sex with them. I mean, she would try to have sex with my husband. She didn't know what she was doing.
So yeah, so she was hypersexual.
They
She-
fellowshipped her.
Yeah.
They just fellowshipped somebody who's fully insane.
Well, yeah, and interesting that you said that she was hypersexual in your notes because, well, Dan's mother had some of those kind of
Just schizophrenic.
she was schizophrenic, and she had the same kind of strangeness where, like for example, she'd strip down naked and run down the street naked, and Dad always kind of wondered if she hadn't been abused by maybe a group of men or something crazy that kind of put her into that state, but because she wasn't always bipolar. So that was kind of interesting that you said that. I didn't know that about bipolars, that they tend to be hypersexual. I did not know that. So I thought that was really interesting. What about, was she always that way since you knew her, Christy? I mean, was she that way when your dad married her?
Whenever I look back, as far back as I can remember, I do remember a time when she was completely sane. Before she really lost her mind, she had a nervous breakdown, and from that nervous breakdown, she never quite recovered, and she just gradually, over the years, just got worse. And I took her to all the doctors possible. I took her to every psychiatrist. I mean, I just tried to get her help, and they didn't know what was wrong with her. They said, we don't know what caused it. We don't know what caused it. They said it's not Alzheimer's, but she has severe dementia.
Wow. It's so fascinating.
Brainwashed.
Yeah, well, because, Dan's mother, she was just normal when her husband married her. And then something happened. And then same thing where she just kind of, she went down. What would you say about her? She turned out to be schizophrenic in the end, but she was I think she was probably traumatized and then just never came out of it,
Yeah.
So what happened?
Every 3 years she'd have a breakdown.
Yeah, every 3 years she'd have a breakdown, but she just was unstable. Oh yeah, she had a nervous breakdown. Something happened, the family said, and then she had a nervous breakdown, and she was never the same again. And then she would be more susceptible to a nervous breakdown after that.
Her mind got weaker.
Yeah. Each time you go through that, it gets weaker and weaker. So nobody ever really knew what happened and what triggered it, but something really bad happened, and then she got into that mental, I don't know, she went mad. So something bad happened. That's what everybody figured. So, and because this organization is so, they say it's a sex cult. That's what police officers say about it. You wondered, did she get gang raped? Did some elders do their dirties like they do back east? A whole lot that's going on where they give you date, drug, and they rape you, and they do all these things to a lot of women back east, really, really bad. And, just kind of makes you wonder what actually really did happen.
It's just anxiety of having to show up at meetings all the time. For my mother, that was really difficult for her to be an elder's wife, and it was very constraining to her, and she was much happier at home. So there's a lot of anxiety that just goes along with being a woman and being a witness, especially if your husband's an elder.
Good point.
Extra clothes you got to get. And you can't, and all that stuff. You got to get ready to look proper when you go. And I think it may or may not. Barely getting home from work and going to meetings. Because if you've got a lot of anxiety, I can understand where you just want to strip down and run down the street screaming. I think a lot of us, although we didn't do that, a lot of us may have felt like that's how we felt inside at times.
Yeah.
You want to flee.
You're right.
And your stomach is telling you to flee, but you're not allowed to flee. You've got to show up where your stomach and your brain are saying, I want to get out of this room with no windows.
You're right.
Well, I'll tell you what, worst days I've ever had in my whole life was getting baptized.
Really?
I had such a weird gut feeling and brain feeling, all confused. how I was raised in it. Well, it was just awful. I felt like I had let myself down somehow.
Wow.
I had
Wow.
vowed to and I think it was the first year that they changed the questions. I think 86, right around there, they changed those questions where they said something different, like it wasn't Father, Son, and Holy Ghost anymore, or Holy Spirit. And then it was something like you're dedicated to the governing body.
That's right.
Yeah. Isn't there a year right in there where they did that?
Yes.
Yep.
I went on purpose. Yeah. So I'm standing in front of the assembly, and they changed the questions on me. Yeah. So I went and tried to talk to the elders. I went ahead and went through it. You know, because I've been brainwashed so much.
Yep.
And my wife was into it. I hear you.
Hey,
That's
guys.
why I didn't go through with it.
Let me check with Rick to make
Wow.
sure, because I think we're cutting into another show, guys. We got another show starting. I think we do. Let me check with Rick.
Women, and my mother needed my help. I was the adult in the room sometimes too.
Yep.
So I hear.
Me too.
I really do, and I
Me
hear
too. Yeah.
Yep. I grew up going to see my mother in the mental ward. You know, I beating on the door. You know, it was horrible. But Rick, let me just check with Rick, because I don't want to cut into that other show. We're already
He
15.
should be popping up.
Hey,
over
Rick,
on
are
this
you
side.
there? We just want to make sure we're not taking over someone's show.
Well, I'm here. Yeah, we're going to move on to after the storm. So why don't you guys
Okay.
take a couple of minutes and wrap it up? We'll move on to DeLon with After the Storm. Thank you, guys.
Okay, thank you.
Rick.
Hey, everybody. Hey, thanks for all the comments tonight, Rick. Christy, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thank you, Daniel. And
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, really, everybody for all your comments.
Lots
Jeff
of great comments
and,
tonight.
Pixie, and oh my gosh, so many people. Thank you, everybody. It was a great show. And Christy, thank you so much for sharing your story with us. It was an incredible story.
It was.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work.
Keep up.
I want to make one last comment.
Yep.
I called in a couple weeks ago, and I disrespected you guys and Rick there, but I wasn't drinking. I was real intent.
Well, that's okay.
I haven't followed your guys' show very much, and I just kind of breezed through it. And anytime I see Jehovah's Witnesses going nuts or ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, it just kind of sends me into a frenzy.
Gotcha.
Well, you made a lot of sense tonight.
You guys saying I was drinking.
Oh, well, we're sorry. I don't know if we said it. We didn't know. We just know we were telling you. We were in the middle of
I
a.
said I traumatized you.
Yeah, just because we were in the middle of a show, we were in a heavy duty conversation. Our guest was crying, and so we were like, please, just wait till we're done with the show, and you wouldn't wait. So we got a little annoyed, but hey, I appreciate you. I never thought about it after that, and I'm glad you came back and you made a lot of great comments tonight.
Really
I mean,
good.
really, you really got it together, and I'm glad you're out, and you're welcome anytime on our show. Okay.
Was it Mike? Is it Mike? Right?
All right.
What's your
I
name?
just wanted to apologize.
Oh,
Well,
thank you.
I apologize
Thank you.
too. I got pretty irate.
I think you guys all got a good show going on.
Thank
Well,
you.
thanks.
And there's, all different kinds of ex-witnesses. Some of them are angry. Some of them are, trying to figure out how to handle all this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we've all been traumatized, and we hear you.
Yes, we do.
Yes, we have.
Back.
Well, come on back. Okay, guys, we're handing it off
right.
now. Thank you,
Good
guys.
night, everybody.
Good night. Thank
Good
you,
night.
Rick. Thank you for the time, Rick.
Thank you again, Christy.
Thank you, Christy.
Thank you.
Thank you. Absolutely.
Well, thank you, Christy, too. Thank you for the program. And a lot of people coming in here tonight. So if you're on YouTube right now, if you want to listen to the rest of the programs tonight, go to 6screensofthewatchtower.com. And when you're on the homepage, scroll down. It'll say listen in to the live video suite. Do that. Video suite. Hit that. Put a fictitious name in or your real name, and you'll be able to hear the programs tonight that are coming up next. So thank you very much for coming in on YouTube. We really appreciate your presence. So we're going to end this broadcast right now. But if you want to listen to more programs tonight, go to 6screensofthewatchtower.com. scroll down to live streaming and you can listen in. Thank you very much for coming into the Heart to Heart program. We thank Christy Love. We thank Dan and Angela and all the people that called in tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good night.